Hey, you guys, welcome back. We are so excited to have you. We are here with an amazing friend of mine and a special guest, Matt Fornito. And if you and I haven't met, I'm Karen Mayer Cunningham, special education boss, training everyone that sits at the 504 IEP table to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. So I'm so excited to bring the great Matt Fornito to you. I had the opportunity last fall to see him speak, and I was just floored. And I think I ran up to him and said, I'm not really sure what you do, but I need you to help me. So his specialty is many things. He is a keynote speaker. He's been in technology, and he spent the last 2 decades as a catalyst for transformative change, combining his fervor for confluence of psychology, technology, and AI to empower and educate. At the heart of his work is a relentless drive to unlock the AI potential within organizations and individuals alike. As a consultant for over a decade, he not only built two firms, but was winning the NVIDIA Partner of the Year award, where he acted as the partner chair. He's also served on some of the leading Fortune 500 companies, helping them to accelerate their AI journey through strategic roadmaps leading to tangible business outcomes. He's been entrusted with billions in spending and produced hundreds of millions in revenue. As an actor for nearly 3 decades and a keynote speaker for the last 10, Matt's going to combine theory, practicality, and storytelling to engage tens of thousands of people and inspire them about the future potential of AI. His evangelism and thought leadership has been seen at CIO/CDO roundtables, in Ventana events, various podcasts, and many new outlets. And so, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So did I traumatize you when I just ran up to you in November and I said, I need you to help me?
No, I liked it.
One of the things that I am good as a business owner is knowing what I'm good at, and everything else, which for most people is most things. I've really learned over the years to invest in great partnerships and delegate. And so kind of tell us what you do. I think that there's much concern and I think a lot of fear mongering around AI. And as I say in my keynote speech, I'm not worried about AI, artificial intelligence, because I'm authentic intelligence. And so tell us about how you came to be an AI. You just woke up one day and you're like, I think I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk about like the semantics of how long AI has existed since the 50s, but like in reality, AI has been around 1 to 2 decades, at least in regards to like what people think of as AI. So when I was in school, like that wasn't a thing that you could do. I thought I'd go into psychology and be a therapist. Then I realized people don't really change. And then I thought, okay, I'll go into strategy management consulting. But I was a math nerd along with the people side of that. And so ended up being recruited out as a data scientist and ended up having my own consulting firm on top of that. And then NVIDIA brought me on as one of their 7 partners worldwide. And that's how I ended up getting involved with them. And then that's how I ended up building to $100 million plus practices at billion-dollar companies. And then ultimately led to me realizing that nobody knows what the heck they're doing with AI, including the Fortune 500. And as much as we talk about how important AI is, how accelerated it is in the world and industry today, 50 to 90% of initiatives are still failing, which means like technology has gotten a lot better, but that must mean there's like a people and process issue around all of this. And so like we can build all of the best things in the world, but if people don't trust it, if people don't want to leverage it, if people don't know what the benefit is, what the what's in it for me, then it doesn't matter. And so that's really what I went and started doing the past like 2.5 years, is building out this advisory group of like former Fortune 100 chief data officers, where we can bridge that gap in regards to understanding tech and understanding business and people, and figuring out like, how do we help business leaders and help technologists communicate more effectively so that we can actually help people change and adopt AI to be more impactful or successful.
I remember when I saw you speak and you said it's been here for a long time. I was like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It just got here last Thursday. And I think, I was talking to somebody recently, and information, places to find information have been around forever, right? When I was in high school, I remember I thought, when I'm an adult, I'm going to have enough money to buy an Encyclopedia Britannica. And so information has always been captured somewhere. I think most people use AI to, one of my partners, she's like, I use AI to send nice emails, which is great, right? How do I say this without getting fired?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously you work with massive companies, but tell us how you work with people that might have a business, a boutique business. They're working on a project, they're working on a book, they're working on a concept. How could you come alongside them and help them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on, what you're trying to accomplish because there's we'll call this like two sides of AI when we talk about a chat GPT or perplexity. Perplexity is the one that I love. And so on one side, it's going to be this search replacement. So
Yeah.
I grew up in I said Florida, but also Atlanta. And so Truett Kathy lived down the street. And so it's what time does Chick-fil-A stop serving breakfast? You use it to replace Google search, like starting off, right? Like, why
Right.
does my tooth ache, right? And you can like interact with it and say, ask me any questions to help me figure out why my tooth hurts. And so like this aspect of not having to go and open up 50 tabs to try to figure something out, and using it kind of as a Google search tool is one of the ways that I think a lot of people can start being more successful in regards to figuring out like what these tools are effective for in the first place, right? And then the flip side of that is when looking at how can you use these tools to be more effective or impactful, it's really dissecting whether you hire a consultant like us or you just do it yourself, understanding where do you waste time, where do you waste money? Because like they're analogs, right? And so if it's like if I waste too much time doing something manually, is there a way that I can automate this or use AI or outsource it or whatever the heck it is? And so, and instead of like you always continuously doing the same thing over and over again for 20 hours every single week, you could now ask AI, like, hey, this is what I do manually. Is there a way to automate this? Or is there a tool that does this? And like it can give you that, and then it can tell you how to automate that. And so it can help you build that. And you might not be able to do it all yourself if you're not a technologist, but at the end of the day, you're accelerating like your career trajectory. And more importantly, you're freeing up your time to do the things that you actually love doing or are better at. And just like how you talked about before, we kicked this off, that you surround yourself with people that are bright or are better at the individual things they do. That's what AI is. It's because it's compiled all of this knowledge from all across the globe for the entirety of human existence. And so it has little mini experts in anything that you want to be able to leverage for those insights. So whether that's marketing or special education or whatever that is, like you can use those insights so you don't have to go read 500 books behind you to
Yeah.
try to become an expert on something. You can start getting that information to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, awesome. And so one of the ways that Matt and I worked together and we're doing other things was, which I didn't even know was an option, is some of you know, I have a book coming out in just a few minutes. It'll seem longer than a few minutes, but I've had this book for a while and people have this phrase, which I'm sure I said it. It's not true. It's sort of like people say I have a book inside of me. I also might have said I had shredded abs inside of me, but I don't have that. And so Matt and I are both part of another mastermind group that is a business group. And we're always working on 85 different things, where it's a podcast, a website, do this. And sometimes we have so many things on our platter. It's just something that I'm going to do. And if I hadn't had Matt come alongside with his brilliance and his technology and his giftings, it wasn't just technology, I would have still had the book in me and on some documents and on a video and this webinar thing. And so kind of, without, giving away the secrets to the to the treasure chest, and I don't even remember, I was just so excited when I met you, what you do when somebody comes along, because we're in a series about, publishing your work and your books and leaving your imprint, whether it's social media, whether it's video content, or, a continuity product like a book so that somebody else can take your giftings and have them. So you remind me, because when I get excited, I don't remember things. I was just like, I knew Matt could help me. So for those of us that are watching and have a book inside of us, which everybody probably does, kind of help me remember how that conversation went, or what the fancy words you used were, and how we got that product finished.
Yeah. So I think the reality is that everybody has a story inside of them, and it's um, there's so many people, my parents included, that are huge Apple fan children, right? And I wasn't, for the fact that like Apple wasn't inventive, right? Apple was a design recreator, and Steve Jobs was absolutely brilliant at it. But his Stanford 2012 commencement speech, one of the greatest things he said is that you can't connect the dots moving forward, only looking back. And so if
Mm,
you just assumed that you're going to do X, Y, and Z on your trajectory, you're going to study A, B, and C, and that's your life, and maybe you're one of the few lucky people who got to accomplish all that and
yeah.
didn't like get fired or reprimanded or whatever the heck it was, or have to change your career trajectory 10 times. Those life experiences shape who you are. And like the fact that I was in psychology and sociology most of my life, and then AI kind of emerged as more prevalent, and I was able to apply that aspect to AI, made me unique in the field because everybody else was coming in from a technology side. And
Right.
so everyone has their own unique perspective, and there's this also unique story that you have in regards to that. And I think if you have a story or a message that you want to get across, you certainly need to be able to identify what that actually means. Like, what do you want this to be for the people that read this? Like, because you're not reading this to 100,000 people in an auditorium. Like, this is somebody in their bed that reads this, and you want to impact that individual. You might want to impact 100,000 of those individuals and get a New
Yeah.
York Times bestseller, but you want to impact that one individual. And so I think that a lot of people don't necessarily think through all of the different components of like, well, who is this ICP, right? This customer persona, and what do they care about, and what are their pains and needs, and then what am I trying to articulate, and what are the frameworks or behaviors that I want around all of that. And so I think what I tend to be good at is helping shape and guide people's narratives with that underlying thread of the story that they have, and being able to use AI and other technologies to help deliver that faster. So
Yeah.
in the case of like what we worked on, where a lot of writers may take 9, 12, 24 months to help like
Ugh.
write a book. The fact that it can be done in a small handful of weeks to small handful of months means that, like, especially if you want to be a speaker and get your voice out there, a book's the way to really start getting like paid keynotes. And if you want to just have others read your story, like getting it out there, whereas most of us say, yeah, I've always wanted to write a book, and then none of us ever do.
Yeah.
It's like it's harder to make that excuse now that AI does make it so much more accessible.
Yeah. And I can't even tell you like what a godsend you were. A, that you're very kind and you're brilliant. I can tell because when you talk, you look up into your left quadrant, and my husband does that. I always say he's really smart and I'm really happy. They're two different things. And so your kindness with me as we walk through this process, because everybody is so different. And my writing modality is speaking. And so Matt was fine with, I'm sure he probably knows how to put something in the chat. And all of you guys know that I don't because I am the chat. But he was fine with me making videos about components and answering. It wasn't in his wheelhouse. And I think that's really important when you work with somebody, is that you do it in a modality that serves them and makes it feel successful, right? It wasn't, oh my gosh, it was not like trudging uphill in mud. But I'm so thankful that you exist. I think you're the only person on the earth that does this. Maybe there's other people, but we won't tell anybody. Are there digital products that you have? Do you have Camp AI with Matt and we all get matching t-shirts? What can we do to partner with you?
So as of right now, yes, I do a very small handful of ghostwriting. If there's the bandwidth for that, we're working on creating a not a fully automated service, because there's the I want to get a point across first before going back into the different things we have. I'd be remiss to say that, like, there's this big issue that I see with AI today where people are using it to replace aspects of relationships, and whether that's like sales, or if you get a text message and somebody sent it and you can tell it was written by AI, and the lack of authenticity is really problematic. And
Yes.
so any of the AI writers that exist today, whether it's a ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or any of the custom made ones, they're still very inauthentic, right? They
Yes.
don't capture your voice, your brand, like your essence, and your passions, your value systems, and they also don't speak with like the nuance and characteristics that you do. And so I think that with writing, there's an aspect where, as much as like we're seeing how far we can get into the process of using it to accelerate a footprint of like getting a message curated,
Yeah.
or getting a book curated, like there still has to be this editorial process or like just this back and forth with the technology to really harness that. Because like if you just put out crap content, like it's just inundating Amazon with more crap content, right? And it's like
Exactly.
nobody wants or needs that. And so and so that's part of the reason why there's so little or so few ghostwriting slots that I have right now, because like as of right now, I'm one person. And so for scalability, like yes, we can only do so many, even though we're trying to automate a few more pieces of that puzzle. But I'd say more so generally what we do, both myself as well as members of my team, are run workshops or come and speak. And so I believe strongly in this aspect of that AI is not this scary monster in the closet, and it's not Terminator, and it's also not a big red easy button. It's like
It's
it's
not.
nowhere near as simple as people think, and it's also nowhere near as scary. It's like how people use and harness it can be for extreme good and extreme bad, and it's also I can also say like extremely dumb. It is a teenager or toddler half the time when you tell it to do things.
I know.
And
Thank you for saying that. I was like, I just asked you a question. Answer me.
and so like I think I think mitigating those gaps and fears and being able to just have those conversations and like workshops, like and hands-on workshops where people get to play with these tools. And so one of the ones that I do both as a keynote and workshop is 10 hours back, because who wouldn't want 10 hours back in a week, right? If you
Yeah.
can have 10 hours back every single week, like
Yeah.
what would that mean for your life, right? Does that mean more work? Probably for us a little bit, but like more family time or more creativity time, more
Right.
hobbies, right? And so I think that there's this aspect that like capitalism that can shift towards more autonomy towards the things that we actually love. And so that's one of the ones that I really really enjoy teaching around. But if we get enough folks that want to, through like Special Education Academy or Boss, we could do like even a curated like custom training in regards to creating like your own little mini agent for your child, right? So that way you would know how to interact with the education system with your child. And so for things with like special education needs, like we could have something more curated versus just knowing how to like more effectively interact with these LLMs, to not just be annoyed with it and want to throw it in another room.
Yeah. I think that's interesting what you just said about I'm still trying to get my phone to understand when I just talk into it. Like it only gets like every third word. I'm sure it's me. When we put this together and we thought about AI, what do you think the biggest misconception is around? And we've even heard it in special education. Obviously, a lot of teachers are here. A lot of teachers have the opportunity to train that AI is going to replace teachers. You just walk into class and I guess Siri is going to be talking to you all day. Is that ridiculous or is that ridiculous?
It's augmentation and enablement, not replacement. Now, bad actors, right? Like, so let's say for poor school systems that choose to irresponsibly use money, or those who want to replace teachers, they will go that route, right? And that's going to be problematic because the kids aren't going to get a full experience. But just like you mentioned earlier, in regards to the modality that people want to work in, kids learn in different modalities, right? And so whether
Right.
you're a visual learner, an auditory learner, or if you get stuck on certain types of math problems, right? The teacher, like kind of like the Bush No Child Left Behind act of yore, right? Like that didn't really substantiate in regards to actually accelerating kids, right? It kind of lowered us all, right? And but if we looked at it through this lens of, hey, the teachers are going to teach this curriculum, but anything you get stuck on, you're going to have this little AI helper that's going to help you in the areas you're weak in.
Right.
And that's going to like be your little personal coach, to help make you as strong as your peers or even stronger than them, and accelerate you in the areas you're really strong to make you the best of the best. That's what these things are going to be able to do. So it's not really like, hey, we're not going to have teachers. It's going to say, hey, any areas where this teacher is terrible at teaching you because this is the way that they teach, and
Right.
they just read from that PowerPoint. Well, now you have 8 other ways you can learn, and here's 500 simulated questions you can try to answer until you really get it and understand it.
So good. I'm sure that you've never, it's just a little still AI, but there's a fast food restaurant now using AI. Don't know if you've experienced this. I'm sure you haven't because everybody in Colorado only eats healthy stuff and they drink water from the mountain, right? But in Texas, we like grease late at night. And I was coming home from a BBG event and I pull into the very healthy Taco Bell and it's AI. It is AI talking to me. And so now I'm yelling at the speaker. What I should do is I should start my own AI problem TikTok, right? Like I am yelling at a speaker and she's like, so you want this order? So you want this order? So you want this order? And so I think it's going to be a great supplement. I think it already is. It's so exciting. The speed at which you were able to help me with a spirit of excellence, I don't find very often. And so thank you for doing what you do. Please don't stop doing what you do.
Of course.
So for people that, want to connect with you, they want to bring you in for their company, they're interested in workshops, are you helping them with a project, something they're doing, how would they connect with you?
Yeah, we're the AI advisory group. So it includes the word the AIAG.com. And then we're going to offer, we're going to do a discounted workshop for those who want to do the 10 hours one for your listeners. So it'll be the AIAG.com/special education boss.
Okay.
And
then
and so I'm sure you'll post that too.
yeah,
But
we'll put those links and it'll be with the recording. So
and then like I tend to be really active on LinkedIn. I run a podcast with another organizational psychologist on Tuesdays called A to Z, the future of work, where we talk about we talk about Gen Z and Gen Alpha too, but also the older generations and AI and
the
everything in
older
between.
generations, what he
Yeah.
meant was the mature marinated generations.
The retirees who have to figure out what this means for the future too.
Yes, retirees. I don't, does anybody get to retire? I don't think so.
Or if they even choose or want to, because now you
Yeah.
don't like that was one of the things we talked about today. It's like,
Yes.
you don't have like if you were a carpenter, maybe you had to you had to retire at some point because you couldn't like physically work anymore. But now you can use your subject matter expertise and like be able to work with these little assistants, some AI assistants, and accomplish whatever the heck you want to accomplish because you have 50 years in your brain, right?
That's 50. I have 50. It's about to be 60 in a couple months, but
20.
good thing I use good skincare.
20 for you.
Yeah, yeah. So Cindy, do we have any questions from our friends? And if you guys can give me 1 second. So Cindy, can you tell us if we have any questions from our listeners?
We have 2 lovely comments. The first comment was t-shirts, take my money now. So I think we're all excited for t-shirts. And the next one is, I have been using AI to help me find where to look in IDEA to get specific information. It allows me to find those specific code numbers and quote them quickly. This is definitely helpful when Karen isn't next to you. I nicknamed my AI boss Karen. And that's what we have.
That is awesome. If anybody else has a question, you can put it in the chat. Matt would be happy to answer. I can tell you about hairspray and Taco Bell, and he can tell you about all the smart stuff.
Well, and like that's one of the ones. Well, I think there's 2 pieces to fast food that are interesting to me. The first, well, I'll give one little cheat code, especially for like call centers and whatnot, is like just continuously saying the word agent or using cuss words will usually route you automatically to a human. Just an FYI. You don't have to yell. You could just say the F-bomb like 10 times.
We end up yelling at the phone.
Without even getting mad. Yeah. But I think there's so you could do the same thing at Taco Bell, right? But I think there's an interesting piece to that where service industry, right? Restaurant type jobs, I don't think they'll ever go away because we like that novelty of the experience of we don't know what's going to happen and talking to a random stranger. But like fast food, you might not really you don't really care, right? About that. Like maybe a Chick-fil-A or something, but Taco Bell, you just give me my food, especially if it's like 1 a.m. at night. And so it's like, I think that might be one of the first things to go to robotics. But I think the more interesting piece will be that for, I think, a lot of people in our generations, like those types of jobs were some of the first jobs that you had. And we're going to see like those entry level jobs AI and robotics will like replace or mitigate a decent number of those. So like job mitigation as a whole like won't really happen. Like there'll be a need for more and more teachers, right? But in
Yeah.
regards to like, do you need a fast food worker to hand you your food when a robot could do it? Not really, right? And so it's going to be like an interesting aspect of like, how do 16-year-olds like get work experience or understand how to interact with like older adults, right?
Yeah.
If they don't have those types of experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah. And listen, when I need extra cheese, I need to speak to a Taco Bell agent.
I'll get it.
Here's a question. It says, I've seen apps advertised that would quote unquote make a movie. If you tell it what it is about, will you speak to that?
Yeah, there's 3 softwares right now, Sora and Google's Google just rebranded theirs a month and a half ago, and I forgot the new name. Those are the 2 most popular. Right now, they're only about 8 to 12, 15-second clips. And so in regards to like if who do we want to go with? If George Clooney is your favorite actor and you want a full movie with George Clooney, like on the beach, you don't get it yet.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to create an ad for, you know, your company, like they are pretty darn good about that. It's just the continuity over the course of anything longer than 8 to 15 seconds isn't quite there yet. But in regards to like where this will be in the next 2 years, it's pretty darn wild considering how fast it's moved in the past 2.
Wow. What's the name of that again?
Sora, Sora, and then I'll have to look up the name of Google's
And what
new
was
one.
the AI that you said? Because all of us people, all of us guys are on, we always call it our boyfriend Chad GPT. But what's the one that you use?
Perplexity.ai.
Perplexity.
So Perplexity, it uses Claude. So Anthropic's Claude, if you've heard of that, it uses ChatGPT. So it uses multiple models. And then based on what question you ask, it will automatically pick the best model. So you don't have to like go through all of the humdrum of trying to figure out what the best model is based on your question. It's also got the best underlying search. So if I think it was Connie above, right? Connie talking about being able to source information. Perplexity tends to be the best about that without hallucinating data. It still can, right? In regards to sourcing data, it's always good to be diligent and making sure that what you've looked up is accurate, right? Or whatever it curated is accurate. But Perplexity is by far the best in regards to that.
I would like to say, as somebody that sits at IEP meetings 500 times a year, there's a lot of hallucinating of data. Is that right, Cindy?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe they have a severe case of AI infection.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been a human problem for a long time.
Yes.
Our next question says, Matt, how are you recommending AI for book writing? Is this an editing purpose or writing? How about help in getting published? Where is AI the best?
Okay. So AI is really, really good in 2 things: structure and knowledge consolidation. So if you wanted to do an outline, and let's say a very, very thorough outline, not just like a 5-chapter high school essay, it's very good about that. And then if you wanted to have it really pull all intricate data and details in regards to that, or research in regards to each subcomponent of aspects of that outline of each component that you have for that outline, it could pull all that together. But in regards to the creative writing process, in regards to like your unique voice and brand voice and all of that, it's pretty horrific. So it takes a heck of a lot of manual work on my side to get that to go well. So it's better to like use it. And mind you, like you don't even have to be hyper structured in your thoughts to get structure around the thoughts. So you could literally record yourself for 10, 20 minutes talking about a single topic and everything listing off in your brain, and then feed that into a transcription service or wherever you can get it transcribed, and then say like create an outline around this because I want to create a book, right? And then ask it to perform additional research that will help support all of those arguments. And that's like how you would want to use that. But for the creative writing process, you generally are going to want to do manually, or like you have to get really, really good at understanding technical prompting. And then in regards to editing's, Karen actually introduced me to a colleague, editor friend, and she's technically progressive. She's had technical companies before, and she's worked with all of the major publishers in the past, and none of them are using AI today. They even ask if you have used AI when you go to try to ask if they'll be your book publisher. And so there's still a big reticence, I think, in the market today. Part of that is due to, are you stealing IP? Since we don't know all of the legal repercussions around everything yet in this realm. But I would say that it is still a very relationally driven market. So you, Karen, knows this extremely well, and I'm sure can answer better than I can. But basically, yes, you want to have a prognosis for how you want to go to market, and the more of a following or fan base that you have, and like they know that you have people that will buy your book, the more likely you are to get published.
And that wonderful young lady is our next webinar tomorrow. So we have the great Matt today, and then the great Allie Trowbridge tomorrow, who's a publisher. So that will certainly be on that, so she can answer those questions. I do want to just jump in, even though it's off topic, but that's my middle name. Publishing is not selling the book, right? Publishers publish, right? And I think that people think, and I've been part of a compilation book and another book previously. I'm like, they will find my work. If you write it, they will come and buy it. Not true. It is not true. Right. And so knowing the process, and even AI could help you with that. What are those steps to go from, I have a book, and how do I get it to the marketplace? I have people that I made a post about it. Oh, okay. Because if you're doing your work, which is so important, and you're sharing your story, you're sharing your passion, you're sharing your uniqueness, the problem that you solve, it doesn't do any good to be on a pallet in your garage. Nobody knows about how great your book is. And so it is a step process. It's a long process, but to do it right to completion is totally, absolutely worth it.
Our next question is, what's your favorite AI, Matt?
Perplexity is my first, and I use it every day. I use it way more than Google search. I have it, this button on my phone, it literally just goes to voice automatically, right? For Perplexity. And my second favorite right off the bat would be, I need to get a deal with them. They're called Fixer AI, Fyxer. So I hate email. I hate it. You can reach me any other way. I'll respond to it, but I do it in waves. And they did two things really well. One is that they classify email not based on like how Google does it with like it's a promotion or an update, but they do it on like, do I need to respond to this? Is this an FYI meeting update, right? It like psychologically, they automatically categorize it using AI. But then if it's something you need to respond to, it will look at the thread of the conversation, and it'll automatically write the draft for you. And you can just look and be like, yep, that's good. And you can send it or quick revise it. And the other one is that if you ever have emails that fall through the cracks because you send one and then like 2 weeks later, you're like, they never responded to me. They actually have one classification that's awaiting reply. And if somebody hasn't replied within a few days, it'll pop it back up and it'll automatically write a new draft saying, hey, I haven't heard from you in a few days, but still seeing what you think about that proposal. And so like, it's that nice piece about like what normally sits in your brain of all these things I have to do from an email. Now the technology is essentially holding on to that.
Oh my gosh, I totally need that. I personally receive literally 100 emails a day. And I don't mean like my blazers, which I don't want anybody to get rid of those emails, but because the business is big, right? We have partners, and I abhor it. I just, yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to definitely use that.
Our next question. I'm interested in creating a profile questionnaire that would be easily validated. How would that work?
Well, without more information, I'll just give the high level on that, since it came from, and we built a lot of those assessments. There's no guarantee that it will be statistically sound or scientifically valid in regards to a questionnaire, But in regards to, so like, let's say big five personality, right? You can't just like create your own and hope that it's not stealing IP and you can go sell it, or that it's accurate. But you know, if you wanted to create a questionnaire, like, you know, how well did you like this conversation today? And it asks, and then it curates like 10 different questions, right? In regards to like different aspects of how tonight went, then yes, right? Like it'll create a Likert scale and you could easily create that. So it really depends on what you're trying to do to know, like, yes, if you need it for legally defensible reasons, don't do it. If you know, are just trying to do it for, you know, a variety of other reasons, like it's pretty good at creating surveys.
Okay. What sites should we be using on a daily basis?
Perplexity still. And then it really just depends on like what else like you do. One thing I always recommend is that, you know, whether you use Perplexity or ChatGPT or any of them, is to look at like what your daily workload looks like, or your day to day, and just describe that to it, and then ask like what tools it would recommend, because it's connected to the web, right? And it's already done that research for you. So you know, if like you post on LinkedIn a lot, you could use Taplio. And if you don't necessarily care about authenticity, it'll also, like outside of scheduling, it'll also automatically create your post for you, right? If you want to use like a AI PowerPoint creation, like Gamma's great for that. There's some that are working towards multi-modality, meaning like it can do research and then make a phone call and schedule a reservation for you. One called GenSpark is working towards that, but it's not quite there yet. So yeah, but it's one of those things where we're still in the infancy stages of all of this on the AI front. So right now we kind of have these platforms, and they're just starting to be connected to how they can work with these different technologies.
Okay. Would it work for storyboarding? Storyboarding. I'm a writer and I have a couple finished products and a few in the works.
Yes-ish, right? So if you're talking about writer storyboarding, very good. If you talk about visual storyboarding, like writing like a 30-minute film and wanting the visual storyboards, it's not quite there yet, but because you have, that's again gets to multi-modality since you need image. And Mid-Journey, if you haven't played with it, is phenomenally fun. MID Journey. And so they just tend not to be consistent yet across images. There's ways to finagle it, but that's the biggest issue in regards to things like storyboarding, is consistency.
Can you transfer your chat GPT info into Perplexity?
Not directly, but they work in similar ways where, you know, whatever, you should always basically have a knowledge agent that's specialized. So let's say it's your health agent. And so you give it your instruction sets for what instructions it should follow. So maybe it's like you're an expert cardiologist, right? And then upload any documents, like, you know, so it's knowledge into that. And so that's how ChatGPT also works in regards to creating agents. Perplexity calls them libraries. But in regards to like just pure converting everything over, you can export everything from ChatGPT, but there's no way to directly import that into Perplexity, and you really wouldn't necessarily want to.
Thank you. There was a request to post the link for tomorrow's session.
Yeah, so you can just go to any of my pages and the links there. You can shoot us an email at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com and we'll get you that.
So this isn't about AI in special education. It's about how to publish a book.
No, I mean, we just, we're talking about a lot of things. Somebody had asked about publishing. So I was just rabbit trailing on that answer.
Okay. In special ed, we are swamped with email. What was the AI for email again?
Fixer, FYXER.ai.
Can you use that on your first husband?
Yeah, I should get like
Fixer.
I should get a referral code.
You should.
But yeah, no, I mean they're pretty good. They're the best that I've worked with so far. Yeah, at least in regards to the technology. So it definitely saves me a few hours and definitely a ton of sanity.
That's spectacular. Well, those were our questions.
Matt, thank you for coming on. You are a brilliant genius, and maybe someday you can come back on and tell us a story about what happened in the kitchen the day that you hit your head. That was such an amazing story. It's such a great keynote. So thank you for being on. So if anybody wants to get a hold of Matt Fornito, just reach out to me at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Thanks you guys for being here and supporting us and this channel. Always share it. The more people that know, the more we can do better. So remember, when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. And we'll see you guys in the next training.